in research limited countries, which is based at the University of Brescia in Italy. We organized this webinar on the eve of World Environment Day, which is being tomorrow, as you know, which is dedicated to ecosystem restoration. And this webinar, in our hope, is an opportunity to dialogue on different approaches and practices in two different sectors, which play a key role in the relationship between of communities and environment, which are often interconnected. I refer to WASH, water, sanitation, and hygiene, and solid waste management. And the title of the webinar is Wash and Waste Management Interventions in Research Limited Countries. We are having different case studies from Africa, Middle East, Western Balkans, Asia, and Latin America. And now I give floor to Margherita to start the technical session of the webinar. Please, Margherita.
Yes, sorry for the noise, but there were some technical issues. So welcome to today's webinar, also from my side. I'm Margherita, I'm Program Manager of the NGO CIS, and we are very glad to be here with Chetan Lab researchers and professors, and with all speakers. So I really thank the speakers for being here. I know for some of them it's been very, difficult to join us, but we are very glad to have this international session. And first of all, I'm very excited about the fact that participants attending this webinar are coming also from different countries. And so we have registration from Colombia, from Lebanon, from Palestine, from India, United States, Morocco, Tunisia, Ethiopia, and many others. So maybe not all of them for technical issues maybe are attending this meeting, but all of them are interested in this webinar, and they will join us. Maybe they will see the YouTube registration. So yeah, some preliminary information. So first of all, we are registering the event. I hope it's not a problem for all of you, and we are on YouTube. And also we will have the possibility to interact with our speakers at the end of the webinars, where we will leave some time for question and answer. But in the meantime, please, we would like really to share, to listen to your comments and questions. So you can use the chat room for this purpose. So let's do it. And so I also remind all speakers to stay in the time frame that we organize. So just speaking 15 minutes. So that we will leave more space for question and answers. We have an agenda. All of you received the agenda. Maybe there are some little changes, but I would like to mention that we in this webinar we are going to speak about different topics that are really connected with the theme of this environmental day. Just tomorrow, the UN decade against for the restoration of ecosystem we start, and I think all research institutes, university, NGOs, and organization enterprise that are represented here will take an action for the ecosystem restoration. I think today we are going to listen about interesting topics on technological and scientific aspect connected with this, with the wash and the waste management sector. But also we are going to speak about social justice and human rights and the participatory approach. So I think it will be very multidisciplinary in some terms. And I would like to just say that I think today we are all here because we really believe in international cooperation, solidarity, and networking. So I think it's a very good opportunity for all of us to build this relationship and to work together on these important topics. So really thank you for being here, because it's an important step for this cooperation process. So I would like to start to give the floor to Professor Sorlini. Professor Sorlini is the director of Setanos and of Brescia University. She is full professor in sanitary environmental engineering of the Department of Civil Environmental Architectural Engineering and Mathematics of University of Brescia. Since the 90s, she is carrying out research projects on different topics, including treatment of drinking water, technologies and appropriate technologies in developing countries. And she has published more than 300 papers on relevant national and international journal and conference proceedings and books. And very recently, Professor Sorlini had the Lection Magistralis focused on research and innovation and the role of appropriate technologies, and in front of the President of Italian Republic, Sergio Mattarella. And in her speech, Professor Sorlini underlined the worrying level reached by the humanity ecological footprint and the urgent need for a change in production and consumption patterns. So I'm really curious to learn from her today. And so let's give the floor to Professor Sorlini, who is going to speak about appropriate environmental technologies for resource-limited countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Margherita, for your wide and very updated presentation. And now I want to share my screen. Okay, can you see it?
Not yet.
No? Margherita, there is a message saying that it's not possible for me to share the screen.
Yes, 1 second, you're right. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
And now can you see my presentation?
Maybe try again now.
Okay, okay, now I can share it. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for your presentation. In my speech, I will have a short presentation about CETAM, what it does, and about the concept of appropriate technologies for low and income countries, especially in the wash sector. CETAM is a research center. It was founded in 2000 at the University of Brescia with the aim to promote research activities on appropriate technologies for environment in developing countries, and to promote activities in collaboration with no-profit organization. This is CETAM staff. I work in CETAM with the strict collaboration of my colleague Mentore Baccari, and we have a staff with including some PhD students that are very useful for our activities. And our main activities are to promote contacts with NGOs, universities, research institutions, but also private companies, both in Italy and developing countries. We want also to promote the exchange of information, technical studies, and publication concerning the different experience developed in cooperation projects. We wanted to also promote research in international cooperation projects. This is a very important point for us because from the beginning of our activity, we thought that it was very important to bring research into cooperation and to develop this research-based approach inside the international cooperation projects. Then we wanted to promote cultural exchanges among students and researchers between Italy and other countries, especially developing countries. And we are also very active because we every year organize different seminars and workshops, conferences, and also a technical cycle of lessons and seminars on specific topics. And if you are interested, we are organizing a summer school that this year will be held during the week from the 21st to the 25th of June. And the topic is circular economy in water and waste sector in low-income countries. And this summer school is both online and in class. If you need any further information, you can write me. Our activities are basically research projects concerning different topics, different environmental topics, drinking water, wastewater treatment and reuse, solid waste collection, treatment, disposal and recovery, and energy production, especially from wastewater treatment and solid waste. And this is a map of all our main projects. They are about 78, 80 projects in different countries, in 30 different countries. And these projects are related both to drinking water treatment, characterization, identification of a technical solution that can be applied in rural context or at household level, and also similar activities have been carried out for wastewater. And on solid waste, most of these projects are related to solid waste, especially for the evaluation of sustainable solution for solid waste collection, disposal into the environment, but especially for solid waste valorization and reuse. And the actors involved in all these activities are universities, of course, research centers, also secondary schools. We have a strict collaboration with some schools, especially in the province of Brescia, where students are involved with our university students, and they work together on these projects. We collaborate with NGOs, with private companies, and also with the local institution, both in Italy, but especially in developing countries. And our idea, the basic idea that we wanted to promote in all these projects is on the concept of appropriate technologies, because we are engineers, but we also believe that our engineering approach should be integrated with all the other interdisciplinary visions of this topic of cooperation. So we wanted to collaborate with the anthropologists, with people working in economics, in law, in social science, and so on. And so we wanted to integrate all these aspects in the concept of appropriate technologies that we believe can be sustainable tools for improving a local development in a wide vision of world development, of sustainable development at a world level. And so when we try to identify these appropriate technologies, we think that this technology should be sustainable from a social point of view, because they should give a real reply to the needs of the local context, and they should be sustainable from a technical point of view, because we should be able to produce the technologies using local materials, and also to maintain the technology with the local materials and the local skills. And they should be also sustainable from an environmental point of view, because when we choose a technology, it's very important to evaluate, to make a complete evaluation of the technology, including the impact that the technology can generate on the environment in terms of use of natural resources, but also of emissions that are produced by the technology. And then, of course, the technology should be sustainable from economical point of view, because they should be a way to increase new job opportunity, new development, to promote the local market, and also they should be sustainable from a cost point of view, because if people need to pay to sustain a new technology, this is a very important aspect. Now, in Chetan, we have different activities, but I wanted to focus on some researches that we are doing with our PhD students. And now we have a project on wash in school in Brazil. Another that is now concluding, has a PhD research project. But this project will go on, will continue, because it has been funded by some NGOs that are very interested in this activity, and that want to promote new activities inside this project in the future. And another student is working on the valorization of resources from waste, especially from batteries, exhausted batteries in Brazil. And another student is Giovanni. Giovanni will have a presentation later, and he will discuss about the health impact of solid waste in low and middle income countries. And another student is working on sustainability and valorization of waste in the agri-food sector in Sri Lanka. We have another student from Jordan working on the impact of climate change on wash services and wash technology. And another student from Ethiopia is working on waste management in African countries. I know that probably Giovanni will have a presentation later, and for this reason, I decided to show you a focus on a wash project in schools in Brazil. And in this project, we started about 3 years ago, because we thought that this issue is very important at world level, especially if we look at some data related to the wash services in school. At the world level, we know that about 15% of the schools at world level don't have drinking water access, This means about 300 million children. And more children, about 300 and half, don't have appropriate sanitation system. And this is about 20% of the schools at world level. And also hygiene is a very critical issue, especially hygiene, because this update coming from WHO and UNICEF says that we don't have appropriate service for hand washing in 25% of the school. And this means that about 500 million children don't have appropriate hygiene systems. And so we started with, after this general critical situation at world level, we decided to improve a WASH project in 12 schools in Anápolis. This is a town in Brazil, in the southwest of Brazil, in the state of Goiás. And in this project, we involved about 4,600 students, 2,015 professors, and 3 universities. And what we did in this project, we first of all tried to promote a partnership, including different subjects, different institutions from universities, schools, NGOs, private companies, and local institutions. And with our PhD student, Carmencita, she's from Brazil, from the same town, we first of all try to make a preliminary assessment in these 12 schools in order to have a clear knowledge about the situation of access to wash service in these schools. And in this activity, we started with a participatory approach. It was very important for us to include the schools, the professors, students, the students' families too, and also the local universities. We did a very wide experimental activities because we collected many samples of water, wastewater, and we tried to characterize them in order to define the indicator for assessing the wash service. And then what we did, the first approach was to identify the technical solution already implemented in the local schools in order to have a good wash sanitation system. But in this evaluation, we identified the critical issues that we could improve. First of all, with some proposals in order to improve the operation of these existing technologies. And when it was not possible to work on the operation, we defined some additional new technologies that should be implemented in the local schools. One of these technology was based on the constructed wetlands for the grey-water treatment in one of the schools. This was a pilot activity that we wanted to test. And during all the phases of this project that had a duration of about 3 years, we tried to support and to develop many educational activities with the students, with their families, but also technical formation addressed to people, technicians that were responsible for the wash system management. And so I only wanted to show you one of these experiences, but as I told you before, there are several experiences. You can find more information in our website, and you can find also detailed description of some of the projects. And if you wanted to join the summer school, I think that it could be a good opportunity also to know more about these activities, especially during the first day of the summer school. We will have a presentation of all these projects or of the ongoing projects. Okay, thank you. I have concluded my presentation, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Sabrina, for this nice presentation about our activities and case studies of the applied research that we carry out at our research center. And I remind that the questions will be at the end of the speeches, all the talks. So now we go to the second talk, which is by Mauro Bartolomeo. He has been working as country representative for CHIS NGO in Ghana since 2019. He owns a bachelor in business administration and management and a master in development cooperation. He previously worked for the private sector and for international institutions in the context of developing countries, first in Southeast Asia, then in South Asia up to West Africa, where he is currently, and where he is in charge of CHIS project on sustainable agriculture and child labor prevention. His talk is titled Sustainable Livelihoods and Wash Practices in the Savannah Ecosystem. That's a case study from Ghana. So Mauro, if you want to start, please, we have 15 minutes. I don't see Mauro. Margherita, your microphone is switched off. Margherita, sorry.
Yes, I think one moment, maybe I think it's here, but maybe, yes, maybe has some technical problem.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. In this case, so Mauro, if you are not here, or maybe we can go ahead with another intervention in the meantime.
Okay, we can go with Federico. Federico, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, hi. Great. Okay, sorry, but we missed Mauro, so it's your turn. Anyway, Federico is an architect and holds a PhD in urban planning. He is specialized in the analysis of urban centers and informal neighborhoods in sub-Saharan Africa. He is a consultant for NGOs and international agencies on issues related to urban development, participatory planning, and interventions in informal neighborhoods. And he has had experience in 15 different African countries. His talk is titled COVID-Free Toolkit, Dissemination and Implementation of Bottom-Up WASH Actions. He's going to present case studies from Africa. Federico, you have 15 minutes, please. The floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Professor Vaccari. And let me share my screen. Okay.
Okay, we can see it.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. So my intervention title is COVID-Free Toolkit, Dissemination and Implementation of Bottom-Up WASH Action. And COVID-Free Toolkit is also the title of a project that I'm going to present you, and regards not just the WASH actions, but in great part we will see how local community responded to the COVID pandemic with the bottom-up WASH actions. The first rhetoric question that I want to use to begin this communication regards the concept that we are used to have about WASH. As technicians, we are used to consider wash essentially as a technical subject, a subject that must be governed by a technician, by science researches, and so on. And this is in great part true, especially when we talk about big wash intervention and big engineering intervention. But we have also a great part of small wash action that are bottom-up action, ideated and developed completely by local communities. And I'm going to present some of these realities, and I think it's interesting because give us another point of view on the wash issue, and is something that I can see is like what happens in power sector. We have the great power grids and power providers, but we have also off-grids actions that allow many people that are not connected to the big grids to have a power source. And I think something like this is happening. It happens by a long time, but it's happening still now regarding wash sector. All this story began around 1 year ago, something more than 1 year ago, in the month of March 2020. And my friends that are following us from Italy will, of course, remember that time that has been not an easy time of our history. And in that time, we were living a dramatic reality every day. But at the same time, we were used to hear on the media a lot of worries about the potential effects of COVID-19 pandemic on African continent. And every day we were used to hear news reporting Africa is waiting COVID-19, it will be a dramatic situation, it will be a disaster, and so on. In the same days, I was receiving by friends, by colleagues working and living in Africa, a different kind of images. And there were a lot of images, sometimes funny, sometimes really interesting, of local communities that were ideating and developing some creative solution to fight the pandemic. Many of them were solutions related to social distancing. As we can see in the top right corner, this is an image that from Rwanda of the beginning of March of last year. Now we are used to see these kind of things in every corner of our cities, but some traders in Rwanda already ideated this kind of way of social distancing for their customers. And many of those actions were regarded wash, regarding especially simple and effective solution for hand washing. We started to collect this kind of solution, and some of them are really creative, are really also funny in a certain way. We can see in the first image from Ethiopia in front of a church. We have just using a bicycle and a palm leaf, we can have a hand washing system that allows to maintain the proper distance between people. Or some evolutions of the so-said tippy-tap system, that is a really easy system that allows to wash the hands without touching a tap, or some other solutions used by Okada drivers, these moto taxi drivers that started to ideate a solution to protect their customers and so on. So our ideas, okay, here we have another really interesting solution. This is more technical and is an engineer from Goma in RD Congo that developed a hand washing, automatic hand washing machine with a truck battery and with this anthropomorphic aspect. And our idea has been to start to collect these practices that were coming from really different African countries, and to create a web portal. You can see the address over there, to present the most promising solutions that were totally developed by local communities. We started simply with a Facebook group, where, that we promoted in local communities in different countries, and in a few months we received more than 300 ideas, than 300 examples of this kind of local actions, of social distancing, and mainly of wash actions from 26 countries. And we selected 50 of them in order to publish them on a website with the aim of dissemination. As a local solution, as bottom-up solution, all these ideas were completely economic and easy to being constructed and developed, and so easy to being replicated. And that was the occasion for us to start to spread this kind of ideas. And we started to disseminate those ideas, and we started also to receive some images from different African countries, from different African areas, where people looking at our ideas started to replicate and to reproduce, maybe changing some solutions, but to develop their own system, hand washing system, looking at our portal. And this brought us to think to another project related to this, that we called Back to School, that started to think to the ideas that we collected, and to try to implementate this kind of solution properly to help the reopening of the school. And so our objective was to keep the low-tech and low-cost features that local solution had. At the same time, to try to reduce as possible the waste of water, and of course to reduce the presence of taps or objects that you have to touch with your clean hands. And the main objective was to develop solutions that can allow many people at the same time to access to this hand washing machine, because in school, and especially in African school where overcrowding is a big issue, the time for the proper hand washing may become really time wasting. So our main purpose was really to try to develop this kind of solution, collective hand washing systems. And we started with a manual, and we did this simple handbook where we developed around 30 solutions. Half of them are solutions for social distancing, so how rearrange the courtyards of the school or the classroom, or to avoid overcrowding and to keep physical distance among the students. And some of them are wash solution for hand washing. They are really simple solutions. So we keep the ideas that we received that were developed by local communities, simply elaborating them in order to make possible the collective use at the same time of more students. You can see are just simple ideas with pincet pipes, Veronica buckets, and so on, where with just the action of the teacher, the water flows in the pipes, and many people may wash their hands in the same moment. We developed also some technical details. For each solution, we developed this step-by-step assembling tips, a list of the needed materials, but also some tips about the proper height of the hand washing and the different way to produce the stilts to grab the pipes. And even in this case, we have seen growing some solutions that have been inspired by our collection and by our manuals. And so different kind of solution. The last one is the one that Mauro from Ghana will show you among their activities, because we developed it with the friends of CIS. And so this manual found also in several countries a concrete application, and also it was possible for us to change some things according with the special needs of the school. For example, you can see how different these systems are. And for example, in the example of Ghana, the school management was really worried about the resistance of the systems, and about the danger of that the system may be distracted or ruined by students. And so we developed a stronger solution with iron pipes and so on. Just to conclude, what are the lessons that we have learned by this project? The first one, I think it's really important. We have seen solutions that, of course, are not perfect. We have seen ideas that lacks a lot of effectiveness, maybe, and that may appear as a small impact solution, but they have a big strength. And those kind of solutions are extremely easily replicable. And this means that that small impact replicated several times may become a really great impact and huge impact. And the second lesson learned is that the role of informal and bottom-up actions in a resource-limited country is very important. And I think that our role as technicians is to consider this action more and more important for the development of the new intervention that we are going to design, because this is a really added value to our work, to see how the communities are organizing and how the communities are trying to develop their own solution to give an answer to problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Federico, for bringing us around Africa, exploring these very interesting, simple but very interesting and participatory technologies, and especially also for mentioning the Veronica buckets that I think you mentioned as one of the most appropriate technologies, simple appropriate technologies, and that is very spread in Ghana. I think Mauro will speak about it. So in the meantime, Giovanni Vinti joined this session. So thank you, Giovanni, for being here. And so I would like to introduce your presentation. So Giovanni is going to speak about solid waste management practices and health risk, bringing a case study in Ghana and Serbia, two very different countries and contexts. Giovanni got a Master of Science in Civil and Environmental Engineer, and very recently also a PhD in Civil and Environmental Engineer, International Cooperation in Mathematics for Brescia University. He is exploring especially the issue of solid waste management in different countries of Africa, but also Middle East and other regions of the world, and is contributing as a guest editor and also reviewer of different research journals on environmental science and technology. So you can take the floor now. Giovanni, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes,
okay, just let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I hope I'm not late, but unfortunately I have had some personal problems since tonight, so my presentation won't be as detailed as I hope at the beginning. However, my presentation concerned, as you already said, solid waste management practices and health risks, focusing on two case studies, very different each others, from Ghana and Serbia. If I go in the second slide, can you see these different figures or not?
Sure,
there is another figure with about schematic representation of linkage between solid waste management practices and adverse health outcomes. Can you see this slide?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank
go
you.
on, Giovanni, please.
So I'm starting from this figure because it should give you a general idea about this linkage between municipal solid waste management practices, possible environmental transport pathways, the most vulnerable population segments, and possible health outcomes. Indeed, when we consider different practices, usually they can produce different kind of contaminants that spread in the environment and may be dangerous for people. At the same time, it is clear that if we consider incineration by specific plants that treat the fumes to reduce the concentration of pollutants, or if we consider the open burning of waste, it is clear that in the case of the open burning of waste, that is a very common practice, unfortunately, in low-income countries. This causes a very high level of contamination and risk for people in general. I'm also talking about possible health outcomes because in many situations there are detailed studies that the scientific literature offers in terms of epidemiological studies, for example, to analyze the level of risk of some disease related to the presence of some kind of waste management practices. At the same time, I would like to introduce the concept of municipal solid waste safety plan. That is something that I conceived during my PhD thesis research. Indeed, this is something that didn't exist yet, but was an idea taking as a reference something that was already done by the World Health Organization in the field of drinking water and wastewater and sludges. The concept is that of reduce the level of risk related to the management of solid waste with taking as a reference a manual. And this is the structure that was given in my work, in which, of course, after collect data, I analyzed the case studies that I will discuss here. Then health risk assessment matrices were conceived and filled. Then the link between health risk and number of people affected was estimated, and also the control measures to mitigate such the highest risks. Then cost analysis to understand the level of the order of magnitude of the cost of such appropriate solutions. In general, here you can see the structure of the health risk matrices, but I will go faster to the case studies. In particular, as I told you before, I analyzed two different case studies. One was Novi Sad in Serbia, in particular, the municipal landfill in Novi Sad. Novi Sad is an urban a town of about 400,000 people. And in this city, there is a very big landfill that it can be considered as a dump site because there isn't a bottom layer, waterproof layer at the bottom of the landfill, for example. So there are a lot of risk of contamination of the groundwater below the landfill in this dump site. At the same time, there are a lot of fires in these landfills also because there isn't any kind of collection and treatment system for the biogas. Therefore, this kind of risk, as you can imagine, are very high, also because it is very close to the city. The other case studies was very different, and indeed it concerned 9 rural villages in Ghana. But I want to highlight that rural villages, rural areas are very important because about more than 40% of world population is still living in rural areas. So it is important to pay attention also for these areas in the world. In particular, the case study in this case was based on a field mission that I carried out in between November and December 2019, a few months before the COVID-19 pandemic. And in the mission, I was also helped by the field coordinator that is here in this webinar, I mean Mauro. And in particular, the case study was very different compared with that of Serbia. Indeed, here there were 9 rural villages, but with less than 10,000 people per village. In some cases, there were less than 400 people. At the same time, in Serbia, it was not possible to conduct a field mission because in the same period it was the COVID pandemic, but I got a lot of information thanks to an academic from the University of Novi Sad, Professor Batinic. Here you can see that I concentrated my attention on the 4 waste management practices common in the rural villages. I mean, dump site, but also burying of waste, waste burning. And in a village, we found that farmers use the solid waste from the dump site as compost without any kind of separation at source. This highlight a lot of risk of contamination in general, because you have to consider that if you are in direct contact with the animals and so on, some kind of contaminants in particular, for example, dioxins that generate during waste burning, can by accumulating the body of animals, then go into the food chain. They can reach at higher concentration the human body. So the risk increases going from animals to humans, for example. Then a very crucial element was that of the health risk assessment matrix, in which I put the hazardous event that was considered, for example, in the case of Novi Sad landfill. We can consider, I consider the leaking of leachate in groundwater, the hazard that was the groundwater contamination and human consumption. Then, in a way that you can read more in detail in my PhD thesis and also in scientific papers that we will send to journals in the next few months, you can get more details about this concept of likelihood, severity, hazard. But just here I can show that the risk level was highlighted in red when was very high, in orange when was high, then when it was low or medium, it was just the white color. And in some cases it was not available, information it was not available, so it was not filled. But in general, the leaking of leachate groundwater and the waste combustion were found as the events with the highest risks in Novi Sad. While in Ghana, as you can see, there are 9 columns, one for each village. And for example, the free movement of people in dump site was assumed as a high risk because of inhalation, ingestion, or thermal contact with contaminants. But also feed for rodents and other animals was considered a very high risk, considering the spread of infectious and vector-borne disease, taking into account that exist some studies that found a kind of correlation between higher incidence of malaria in Africa closer to dump site, for example. Something similar was done for the open burning of waste, for the uncontrolled burying of solid waste in Ghana, and for the use of solid waste from dump site as compost by local farmers. Then was estimated the link between the number of people affected, considering the risk with the highest level. And a very important element was that of think about the control measures, the intervention to reduce, to mitigate the highest risk. For example, in the case of leaking of leachate in groundwater for the dump site of Novi Sad, among the control measures conceived in terms of appropriate environmental technologies for the local context. I conceived the final top cover or landfill, section 3, for example, water treatment systems at the household level, because there are wells in which people use to get and use water. But also for the waste combustion, other intervention were conceived. Something similar was done also in Ghana, and among the intervention, I consider the reduction of organic fraction of waste disposed of in dump site. This is something also conceived in the project in which I've been participating. I mean, Sustainable Livelihood project, in which they're in Ghana with cheese and Chatham. We are thinking about solution to reduce the organic fraction of waste, for example, with the composting bin as at household level. Here, the other control measures considered for the Ghana rural villages. Then a cost analysis was done. For example, in the case of the municipal landfill of Novi Sad in Serbia, the intervention with the highest cost were the implementation, for example, of a collection, transport, and treatment system of biogas, but also the final top cover of landfill section 3. While in the case of Ghana, the reduction of organic waste disposed of in dump site, thinking about composting bins and different specific collection for the kind of waste, was the most expensive interventions. The others were considered a lower cost. This because, as I said before, they were based on the concept of appropriate environmental technologies. So in rural villages, it is not possible to think about very detailed, very expensive and technological solution. Okay, that's it. So thanks for your attention. For more information, you can send me an email.
Thank you, Giovanni, for this nice presentation. I'm quite sure that the listeners will make questions at the end of the session. So now we can go back to Mauro Bartolomeo. Mauro, are you with us? Mauro?
Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, okay. So
Okay,
I
good morning.
introduce you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Mauro has been working as a country representative for CIS NGO in Ghana since 2019. He owns a Bachelor in Business Administration and Management and a Master in Development Cooperation. He has previously worked for the private sector and for international institutions in the context of developing countries, first in Southeast Asia, then in South Asia, up to West Africa, where he currently is, and where he is in charge of CIS project on sustainable agriculture and child labor prevention. The title of his talk is Sustainable Livelihoods and Wash Practices in the Savannah Ecosystem. Mauro, the floor is yours. You have 15 minutes. Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Vaccari, especially for the double presentation. Sorry, everyone, for this technical issue. So today we're going to talk about WASH in the framework of a project which CISS is implementing in the northern side of Ghana. The project is called Sustainable Livelihoods, and it's a 4-year project supported by the European Union. It's implemented by a consortium of 3 NGOs with 2 local organizations from Ghana, CISS from Italy, and Setam Lab from the University of Brescia. The main purpose of the Sustainable Livelihoods project is to reduce the socioeconomic and climate change related vulnerabilities of rural population living in the northern side of Ghana. The way that we are pursuing this goal is by providing training, input supplies, and a number of different interventions, because as a matter of fact, the Sustainable Livelihoods project is an integrated approach to development that has mainly 4 components. The sustainable agriculture related activities, and then we have the sites related to social protection, dissemination, and today we're going to talk about WASH, which is a component which has to do with the adapted and climate resilience technologies. Now, just a bit of information about Ghana, which is a country situated in West Africa with a population of 30 millions. Life expectancy and GDP per capita is considered one of the most stable and most developed democracies in the West African region. The important thing that we need to mention is the difference between the north of the south and the south of the country. So you can see the line breaking the country in 2. Going up north is where the savanna is. So the Ghana savanna is much more drought than the rest of the countries. The vegetation is much more less, and everything that comes with that. So in terms of water scarcity, in terms of general access to resources, in terms of infrastructure. So it's considered from many ways the most fragile side of the country. And this is where we operate, in the northern region, upper east and upper west region. Just to give you a bit of perspective, I will show you a bit of pictures that also Giovanni showed you before to understand the kind of context in which we're moving. Imagine that the rural communities in the north side of Ghana, they are, of course, very far from the urban centers. And the situation is very bad when it comes to waste management, for a very simple reason. There is no collection of waste. So there is no way for the people to dispose of their waste. So in the end, unfortunately, what happens is that you will find several dump sites inside the community themselves, And most of the times, the only way to dispose of the waste is by burning the waste or by burying the waste. This is the kind of context that we're talking about, where some situation where we can also find houses which are built in concrete, but in most of the cases, the houses are built with mud. Latrine, defecation is a problem. We will talk about it more in depth later. But yeah, this is a type of latrine that we found in this kind of context. And most of the times, the thing is that the latrines are not really working. So let's say that it's the negative effect produced by a non-working latrine is actually even worse than, let's say, open defecation, which is more spread all over the countryside. As you can see, the percentage of plastic in the dump site is very high. And this has to do with the massive use of rubber bags, and especially with what we call water sachets. Now, the problem is that usually because the wastewater pipe and the wastewater are not collected in black water, and there is no infrastructure for that, there is most of the time a very high risk of polluting the soil, and usually the thing is that in many cases the people from the communities, they have their crops on the side of their house. So you can see as the closeness of the wastewater with the vegetable crops becomes a big issue. Now in the north, as I was saying, the access to water is a problem. I mean, water scarcity is a big problem. As we can see now, as we can see in this graphic, let me move this one. Yes, as we can see in this graphic, still the percentage of population using improved drinking water, it's quite low, especially in the rural area, even if we had some improvement. What's really interesting is that in a way, the access to improved drinking water has improved thanks to this to the use of these water sachet, which are basically bags, plastic bags filled with water. But on the other side, this has led to a massive littering, because again, this water sachet, once you drink the water, you just toss the plastic on the countryside and it stays there forever unless you burn it. Now, the theoretical framework that we adopted for our activities is the lead total sanitation approach, which is an approach where basically there is less the use of hardware inputs, but it's more for an approach which aims to mobilize communities. So it's the community themselves that kind of run their own appraisal by realizing what are the negative impacts of their behaviors. And so it's the communities themselves that, let's say, they start to build, for instance, latrines. So the latrines are not provided from the outside. It's not somebody going there and building a latrines, but it's a participatory approach where the community itself build its own latrine. And the important side on this thing is that it really triggers the community desires for collective change, because it's a kind of a common decision altogether. And this leads to greater ownership and sustainability of this kind of approach when it comes to WASH. Now, in our case, the kind of solution that we are proposing in the context of appropriate technologies is these three devices, so to say. So we have the biogas digesters, they improve cook stoves, and the composting bin, which play a different role in the community life. And we're now programming to have a training with artisans themselves, who will be the one that will actually build their own devices. But this phase has been, let's say, covered before with some activities related to awareness. So first, to introduce the problem of littering, the problem of improved water, but also to introduce the technologies and the meaning of these appropriate technologies inside the communities. Now, the thing is that when our WASH activity came, also COVID-19 came. So it was the perfect occasion, let's say, to how you say, integrate the two aspects. So a WASH campaign that could integrate also the COVID-19. We can say that in the last year and a half, I think that all of us, all over the world, we did WASH. You know, the WASH component got inside our life on a daily basis like never before. So what we did during the campaign, we decided to move at 3 different levels. There were 3 different levels of implementation of this awareness campaign within the communities. So the first level was by training health officers at the district level. They were the ones that spreading, let's say, the information all around. Then the second level was the community mobilization to raise awareness on appropriate behaviors and the risk related to all the, let's say, inappropriate behavior. And then a third level, which was the radio intervention. Now, the first level really allowed us to bring more knowledge to the professional that work for the public authorities. With the second level, we went straight to the community side, and there is a bit of a language barrier in the north of Ghana, meaning that there are several languages which are spoken. So sometimes it's really hard. This is why we adopted an approach which had to do with visual communication. And more than that, because many people are illiterate, so the best way is actually to communicate in a visual way. And these are some of the material that we use to conduct the campaign. Of course, the youth plays a very important role inside this kind of dynamic, because in the end, it's very hard to change the behavior of the people who are already grown up. But when it comes to the youth, then let's say that I don't know what to say, but the soil is more fertile. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's easier to learn for them. So we rely on WASH campaigners that were these people that decided to join our initiative and to campaign with us in these communities, to mobilize communities and to discuss in details about the various issues. Of course, there was a mask distribution along with that. And the WASH component became transversal to all our activities, because also during our training with farmers and artisans, let's say that we all the times with nose mask and of course Veronica buckets, which became very crucial and fundamental. The radio intervention was the third level of implementation. It was very important because in the north side of Ghana, some communities they are very far. I mean, the communities they are situated in very remote places, and the radio intervention allowed us to reach these communities, because the radios are the only means that allow us to reach everywhere, even the places which are far from everything. So we provided to the communities the so-called COVID kit, which included soap, sanitizers, and especially Veronica bucket that, as we were saying, has become a standard, and that it was very effective. I mean, it was invented in Ghana at the beginning. Before the pandemic, you could see Veronica buckets only in restaurants, but now they are basically everywhere. And this is one of the most effective tools which has been used in Ghana and West Africa. Now, one last thing, and I'm going to conclude, is that at some point we realized that we needed to provide some tools, some instrument, especially for schools, for kids to wash their hands. Just because the access to water is so hard, we came to develop a facility that could allow for the schools to save water and at the same time having hand washing station easily easily usable and easily accessible. So we developed the COVID-free toolkit with Federico from Taxi Blues. As Federico was saying, we started from a design that at the beginning was kind of soft, so to say. So then the schools, they told us, no, you have to build something more resistant. So this is the original design that we started from. And then this is actually the real development of the facility. As you can see, there is basically a water container and these perforated pipes that allows to have several hand washing stations. The schools were selected also based on their access to water, because as a matter of fact, some schools, they had no access to water at all. So this school was lucky because there was a borehole at 500 meters. And so the possibility to fetch the water inside the container that you see in the back, it was easier for them. And this is some phase of the construction. And this is basically the final results. I'm going to show you, if you don't mind, just a couple of videos. Can you see the video? No.
No,
okay.
It doesn't work.
Okay. In any case, this is all. Thank you very much for your attention. And remember to stay awake and wash your hands. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mauro, for this nice reminder. We implemented this campaign across Ballarò, that is the neighborhood of Palermo, very populated by African people and Ghanese people, and also in Ghana. So I think it's an example of cooperation between communities in promoting wash behaviors. So now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Sunil Dombepola. Maybe we can try now. Please, Sunil, just try now if your video and voice is possible to hear you. Okay. Can you try your?
Yes. Thank you very much.
No, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Margarita.
Okay, I need to.
Can I share the screen?
Yeah, but please let me say some words about you, please, before. I wanted just to check if you.
Okay.
You was with us because there was a big storm in Sri Lanka, and so I was afraid that we had some difficulties. So Mr. Sunil is has a degree in public administration and a postgraduate diploma in adult education. He is executive director of Palm Foundation, which is an NGO that is based both in Sri Lanka and in India. So I think it's a very good example of South-South cooperation, actually. And he is especially managing the activities of the organization in Batticaloa and Ampara and Dadar district of eastern province of Sri Lanka, an area that has been affected both by the civil war, both by tsunamis. So where there are a lot of vulnerable communities still living. And I think it's very interesting the intervention of Palm Foundation because they combine both infrastructural interventions, but also community rehabilitation processes and especially intercultural processes, because they are working in an area where we have different communities, practices different religions, we speak in different language. So it's not very easy to manage this after years of civil war. And so I'm very happy to have you here. So please take the floor.
Thank you very much, Margarita. Can I have a screen, please? Can you see my screen?
We cannot see your screen. One moment, maybe now, try now. Now I think you can.
Yeah. So okay now, Magarta?
Okay, do you want me to open your presentation or you can do from yourself?
Can you see my presentation, please?
Okay, one moment, one moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you can speak.
Okay. Thank you very much again. My humble thanks to Cooperation International Subsat in Italy and all staff in Subsat, and especially Ms. Magarta for giving me and giving our organization to this opportunity. Before going my presentation, just I would like to share briefly about my organization. Palm Foundation was born in 1989 in Sri Lanka, Central Province, and Eastern Province and Northern Province. We are working now. And India, Nilgiri districts, and also we have a branch in Netherlands. Our key development interventions are water supply, sanitation, and hygiene promotion interventions, and also climate resilience, agriculture, and natural resource management, and reconciliation and peace building. Those are the key areas we are addressing right now in the eastern and northern province in Sri Lanka. I am going to share with you all sustainable lagoons, resource management with multi-ethnic groups, multi-ethnic lagoons, fisheries communities in Sri Lanka. Just to start my presentation, you can see here, this is one of the lagoon we worked. That green color indicate Muslim communities, and yellow color indicate Tamil, and red color indicate Sinhala. The most of the lagoons we implemented these projects are multi-ethnic. So that is the big challenge we face. And also, this is multi-partnership project. Especially we work Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resource, and village, district, and provincial level government bodies, other relevant departments such as forest, wildlife, irrigation, security forces, also in the region, and lagoon fisheries communities and their organization. So why this intervention is needed? Why we implemented this project? I think first I would say lagoon fisheries are highly socially marginalized. They are poor, and also powerless, highly marginalized in terms of caste and ethnic. And also lagoon resource management, conservation and protection issues are very serious in this region after 30 years war and tsunami situation. So all lagoons are highly damaged, and also in concerning lagoon resource management, conservation and protection, very poor action were taken by the government also at that time. And poor coordination and understanding between lagoon resource rulers and users. Here, rulers mean department, fisheries and aquatic department. They work based on the Parliament Act, Fisheries Act. They are the rulers, and users are lagoon fisheries. They are the users of the lagoon resource. And also no clear platform to meet both users and rulers to talk about the issue related to the lagoons and lagoon management and protection, and natural resource based conflict among the different ethnic groups. Now you know the lagoon is a very beautiful water body. It is opening sea two seasonally. Season they open and again close, and wonderful biodiversity reactions are happening in between sea and lagoons time to time in the year. and also it is open resources. Therefore, different ethnic groups making a conflict where they start in the sharing the resource of the lagoon. Where we work, you can see certain map, all eastern seabelt, including north. We have been involving with the 9 lagoons. Those are the lagoons in nutshell where we worked. Nayaru, Kokilai, and Naswandiu, Nandikadal, Chale. So in brief, lagoon fisheries profile, you can see is here the ethnic composition also there. Total families, lagoon fisheries families we work 11,624, and population of them 46,932. So in brief, lagoon profile, I am not going to explain more about that. And we'll go next one. This is the main issues we identified during our baseline surveys research. Illegal fishing. Illegal fishing is the main issue in the lagoons. They use illegal fishing gears to catch the fish, and also nylon fishing net. That is also legally prohibited. That is dangerous for the fishing. Very small fish also they are catching in this nets. And mangoes, you all know very well, mangoes are very important trees, mini forest around the lagoon boundaries. So most of people and even fisheries, they are destroying mango trees for firewood and other different their day-to-day needs. And other thing, dumping garbage to the lagoon area. That is another issue, the big issue. So normally the town municipal council and also ordinary people just dumping their garbage to the beautiful lagoons. And using engine boat also prohibited as per our legal act. So they use motor engine boat also for the fishing in this small lagoon territory. We adopted following mobilization strategies to overcome this situation. First, fisheries lagoon consultation process. In the initial stage, we started to form fisheries leaders core group to get their involvement to the process in the beginning level. And also stakeholders consultation body we form with the government department, fisheries department, wildlife, irrigation, agriculture, all departments are involved with this consultation process. And religious leaders also we mobilize, and we get them to form advisory bodies to control ethnic issues, because they have more power in their religion. So through their mouth, we use that system to mobilize them in order to protect and manage the lagoon resource. And also lagoon fisheries group, we form them as a group to pass the messages and train them throughout the project concept. And also we never forget lagoon fisheries children to convince them about these beautiful resources for their future. They are the people who will consume this lagoon resource in future. And finally, we form lagoon resource management committee with the lagoon fisheries community and legalize them. And finally, we form co-governing body for the ruling of the lagoons with the lagoon fisheries and department bodies. So just some photos. This is how we form lagoon fisheries core group as an initial stage of the project. And also we consulted different stakeholders, including Navy and police and army, to get their participation for the project. And also we mobilize and consult region political leaders, senior government staff also in the province, to convince and mobilize them in smooth implementation of the project. And as I said earlier, religious leaders advisory committee also form to create their voice in order to protect the lagoon resource. And normally they are teaching and they are practicing their religious values. In addition to that, they also can pass messages to their community through their mosque and Buddhist temple, church, and Hindus povil. Children also, we got their involvement through the school and form children club to talk and to learn about the biodiversity system of the lagoons and benefit of the lagoons in future if they protect. So they be convinced and we get their participation also to the process. And after that, we did participatory baseline survey using a different type of tool to identify lagoon issues. Even though we identified lagoon issues by the survey, but this tool always help to identify the issues by themselves and think about the lagoon present situation. Then we use different type of groups, male groups and female groups, and lagoon fisheries male groups. So that's the way we conducted the baseline survey. So after that, we form lagoon fisheries management committee in order to address the issues with the people. So those committees were formed by using a election system. That is also we try out the system because selection is good, but election is more effective and more powerful because people have to elect their leaders of the Lagoon Resource Management Committee to work with this project. So that this is the way we have done the election process with lagoon fisheries, nomination list collected, and then it is publicized and use normal system with the government officers, the voting system. Then they voted, and ultimately we form Lagoon Resource Management Committee, community-based, lagoon fisheries-based Lagoon Resource Management Committee for running this project. And after the second step, we used Lagoon Resource Management Committee Forum, that body, to develop lagoon resource management plan with different type of ethnic groups. So there also we use participatory planning tool to make the lagoon resource management plan, lagoon resource development plan for future. So these are the pictures how we use that tool, and we validate the plan with village level, and also we validate the plan with the government department in divisional level, and finally we focus to form lagoon resource co-governance committee together with lagoon resource management committee people that include lagoon fisheries community leaders and other departments. So this is very useful body to create rules and implement rules together with community and officers. That means to get together lagoon users and rulers together to discuss and create a good co-governing system in order to mitigate or minimize lagoon issues, and also to implement lagoon resource management plan. So this was chaired by government agent. Government agent is the key person of the district, the main key person of the district, main key decision maker of the district. So he's the chairman of the committee. Under his chairmanship, all fisheries, lagoon fisheries committee members get together with the officers and other department leaders. So after that, we started the implementation of lagoon development plan. This is the first step we did. Lagoon boundaries marking. So without lagoon boundaries, they had many problems. They dumping garbage to the lagoon and encroachment, and also lagoon fisheries clearly don't know their territory and their boundaries, because these are very open resources. So first step, we use GPS system to marking lagoon boundaries, and we use the system to erect post based on GPS points. So this is the most important tool we did with the government, with the department and lagoon fisheries. We call it demarcation of lagoon boundaries. And other thing, we were able to start ecotourism system based on our lagoon resource development plan. And here we experimented that project in one lagoon. So also they developed a website for the ecotourism for the lagoon. This lagoon especially include 3 ethnic groups. So they had many issues how they can use the lagoon resource. So in this project, we provided basic tourism infrastructure resources. Also, they negotiated, all 3 ethnic group negotiated to implement ecotourism system partly mean seasonally. One season, one ethnic groups use this board system for the ecotourism, and other season other ethnic groups likewise they had a good negotiation, and they implemented smoothly this project. This also identified during the lagoon resource management planning process. And other thing, we introduced legal fishing net system to the lagoon. So that was the key issue we identified during the lagoon development planning process with the community, with the fisheries community. So there we promote with the Department of Government to get the legal fishing net and destroy illegal fishing net. So it is not easy exercise. It took more mobilization program and more awareness program to make them to develop sustainable lagoon. Sustainable, if they develop the sustainable lagoon, only they can make their livelihood also sustainable. So that is also another activity we implemented. Then this is they call quotation for the fishing net, the fisheries management committee and department together, and issued the lagoon fisheries received legal fishing nets for fishing. And this is the process we adopted. Lagoon development plan preparation and validation it with the people, with the fisheries community, level 1 village level, level 2 division level, level 3 district level, and we made ecosystem governance plan with the co-governance committee and lagoon fisheries management committee formation process, and also lagoon area declaration and erecting concrete posts along the GPS location area and protect the lagoon. And also, lagoon management committees were legalized under the Fisheries Act. Finally, we formed co-governance committee for sustainable decision making, for sustainable running of the whole lagoon development plan, and conflict-free approach to the people, to the fisheries community, as well as department people. That means rulers and users of lagoon resource. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sonil, for this very nice and wide presentation. And I'm sure that there will be questions later. So now we go to the next talk. It's by Professor Edgar Espiezia. Are you with us, Edgar?
Yes, I am ready.
Okay, so just to introduce you, give me 1 minute. He was at the Universidad Regional Amazónica ICAM. He is a civil engineer with a specialization in water resources. In his work experience, he has participated in projects for the development of hydraulic infrastructures, monitoring and assessment of water quality in drinking water treatment plants. In addition to the research, he participated in research projects for the implementation of natural solutions for water treatment, hydrological and hydraulic modeling of floods and climate scenarios. His talk is titled Nature-Based Solutions for the Remediation of Water Contaminated with Arsenic. Edgar, the floor is yours. You have 15 minutes, please.
Okay. Can you allow to show my screen, please?
Yes, just a few seconds.
Okay. Is okay now? Yes.
Okay, I am showing my screen. Can you see?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, I would like to talk about nature-based solutions implemented in Ecuador region, in the Paramount region, exactly. At first, I want to talk about arsenic, a little bit of arsenic. Recently in Ecuador, it wasn't an issue, but as the agricultural region are expanding, the people start to measure or start to feel, start to get a high levels of the arsenic. And for this reason, it is a problem in Ecuador. Now, in the region of Ilinizas, that is a region near to one of the main volcanoes in Ecuador, the Cotopaxi volcanoes, and due the geological activity, the arsenics are in the water. And in recently studies are shown that the levels of the arsenics are over of threshold recommended by the Environmental Protection Agency and the World Health Organization. The threshold that they recommend is about 10 micrograms per liter. But now in some parts of the Paramo of Ecuador are measured around 980 micrograms per liter. But in the region that we are talking about, the concentration of arsenic are peaked around 2000 milligrams per liter. And so this is a threatening of for the health of the people of this region, and not for the people of the region, are the people that are feeding with the agricultural products that are grown in this region. One of the effects of arsenic in human health are at first a gastrointestinal disease, but the prolonged consume of water and aliments grown in that are irrigated with this water contaminated by arsenic can lead to a very chronic disease like cancer and eventually death of the people. But in the region there are many sources of arsenic, but mainly is the natural occurrence of arsenic in the geological structures. And as the water came from groundwater or that are infiltrated through the geological media, the water are enriched with arsenic. And in order to solve this kind of problem, was selected or the approach of using a sustainable nature-based solution. But we focused in the fact that the nature-based solution should be low cost and cost effective and efficient, because the people are in this region has a low income and a few source of income. And for this reason, we select an artificial floating island, as you see in the picture. This is one of the project, or this is one of the stage of the project. But as I told you, the main problem that was the water are contaminated or polluted with arsenic, and mainly the water is used as a source for irrigation. That means all of the agricultural products has or can accumulate or can have high levels of arsenic, and for this reason we implemented the artificial floating island. There are in the region there are a lot of agricultors that use mainly they build their own reservoirs. There are a lot of reservoirs in a low scale, and they are not so huge. They store a small amount of water, and for this reason, the traditional or the conventional methods for uptake the arsenic are not a solution that can these people use. And this is also another option for using artificial floating island. And the people of the community of the region, they start to approach or they start to link with the university in order to get an effective solution for this problem. But as said at the beginning, the levels of arsenic at first wasn't an issue. But as more research take samples of the region, we know that the levels of arsenic are really high in water and in the sediments are in the geological media. And we develop a project that now are in the 4th phase. And at first we work in a laboratory scale, and after that we did some experiments in a real condition. And in the phase 3, we did a real scale study with water that was used to irrigate some crops. And at the first, the problem was what kind of plan or what plan to choose in order to remove, in order to take the arsenic. There in the literature were a huge sort of plants, but we decide to use the vetiver. So for this reason, the system is called artificial floated island with vetiver. Yeah, as you see in the left side of the screen. And in the laboratory scale, we measure the arsenic in the plant, as meaning the shoots, leaves, and roots, in order to be sure that the selected plant was feasible to use in the reservoirs. And it was the first part of this project. And after that, we develop an artificial floating island and install in real conditions. So in real condition in the region of Cotopaxi, as say, with the help with the students and with the people of the community of the region. And we developed it at first. We did a plan of adaptation, and after that we make an schematical plans for the design, for the development or for the building the artificial floating island, and after that we install in the file, and we measure some chemical characteristics of the water, and as well the sediments, and as well in the plants. And here you can see an schematic setup of our construction. And here is in real, in the file. And after this step, the all work was an experimental, but in this step we exchange knowledge with the stakeholders, I mean the Department of Irrigation and Drainage of the province of Cotopaxi region and the community. And we start to talk, to work more close, and we received technical cooperation, and we were financial supporting by them. And after that, we develop a community involvement, and as I said, students, and we work together with a really low budget. And one important part that the investigation have is that it was supported by laboratory research and the team, and the water resource research team and stakeholders and the community. And it was a clear example of how the academic and the community and the stakeholders can work together in order to solve a real issue of the community. I see. This is the how to say, the artificial floating island was the thing that that joined the community of Cotopaxi. And after developing this first part of the research, as I say, we get the result that the main of the best plant was vetiver among other plants, but it was to an issue how to introduce and how to teach the people how to use this plant in the reservoirs. And we get really good results where all the arsenic was accumulated in the plants. At first of the investigation, we check the concentration of arsenic in the plants, but at the end we get really high concentrations of arsenic in the plants, as well as the arsenic is related with iron. we measure both of pollutants. And the main results of the study was a really remotion or really uptake of the arsenic. We reach around 92 and 98% of removal rate of arsenic as well in water and in sediments. Is the same situation with arsenic. That means that this kind of technology is feasible to implement in this region. And this part of the research, we published two papers, and as you see the source of water in the left side, the levels of arsenic, or in this case the iron, are visible just by bare eye, just watching the streams of the region. And we involve the people, the community, and we develop another island in order to install in more reservoirs. Now we are working in 2 real reservoirs that are the people using for irrigation their crops, mainly potatoes, carrots, and corn, and some vegetables. And this research continue in order to understand how the contaminant, how the arsenic is accumulated by the plant. And this is all. And I want to acknowledge the Technical University of Cotopaxi, the Regional University of Amazonia, and the government of Cotopaxi. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Edgar, for this interesting intervention. And I think it's very amazing to have the opportunity to listen to you from a university that is based in the Amazonia and is exploring the knowledge from the perspective of Amazonia, and looking especially to the local knowledge of Amazonia communities. So now I would like to give the floor to Professor Samir Al-Nahal, sorry for my pronunciation. Yes, he's WASH program manager from Gaza Strip for the Secours Islamique France. And what to say, we are very glad to have you here. Just 15 days have passed from the attacks in Gaza, and many people died. So we can imagine how it's difficult now to work, to come back to the daily life, and we can imagine how many emergencies you need to challenge in the WASH sectors, because of course any war firstly destroy basic infrastructures, and access to water and sanitation is a key issue, and very problematic in Gaza. So just to mention that also Italian NGOs launched a solidarity campaign for Gaza communities, and so we invite every participant in this session to look at this campaign. And I would like really to give the floor to Mr. Samir. He has a PhD degree in sanitary and environmental engineer. He is a WASH program manager, and since almost 20 years is working in Gaza, where he's responsible for the management, design, and maintenance of different WASH initiatives. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Margarita, and thank you all of the participants and my colleague speakers. I will share my screen first. First of all, thank you for giving me the floor and the chance to present the Gaza Strip case study for WASH and waste management. and also to represent my organization, Secours Islamique France. Actually, we have made some interesting interventions similar to other NGOs and INGOs in Gaza Strip. And regarding your question about how to back to work after the aggression and the escalation happened a few days ago, actually it was terrible, and it was very sad that a lot of people have fallen down, and their names were cancelled from social registration. The whole families were deleted. So I'm very sorry, and but we again still alive, and we can proceed in this life. Let me talk about Gaza Strip, and I would also to thank all the organizer of this webinar. And this is important webinar, I think. So let me start with my case study. Gaza Strip actually, let me make it full, yeah. It locates in the Middle East, and it borders with the Mediterranean Sea from the north, this side, and from the west. Also from the this side, which is the south, is Egypt, and from this side, north and east, is Israel, and its area is about 365 square kilometers, with a coastal line of 40 kilometers. The population, based on the estimates in 2019, it was above 2 million people living in very densely populated area, with about 5,480 persons per square kilometer. 35% of the people are living in semi-urban or rural areas, and majority of people work in agriculture. Water sources is the groundwater is the only source, and it's the 100 source of the water in Gaza Strip. And we have also other sources, like purchasing water from Israeli company based on the Oslo Agreement in 1994. And we have some numbers here, but we don't have surface water at all. So we have about 273 municipal water to pump about 79 million cubic meter per year. And we have also 9 NORWA, it's a UN agency working for the Palestinians. It's to pump about 3 million cubic meter per year. And we purchase from the Israeli company about 10 million cubic meter per year. And there's also about 4 million cubic meter that is desalinated and sold in the market for people. For the groundwater, as you see from this map, you see that from the south, there is 18 meters below the mean sea level, and in the north, it's 5.8 meter below the mean sea level. That means seawater intrusion is affecting the Gaza aquifer about 5 to 10 kilometers inland. And from this figure, you can see the historical from 1968 to 2018, and you can see the declination in the level of the groundwater, and this means that the seawater is very in effect in this area. This also can show the chlorine and nitrate levels in the groundwater. From right, it's the nitrate level map, and you can see how is the high level of the nitrate concentrations. Like there's about 88% of the water wells pump nitrate with 50 milligram, above 50 milligram, which is the World Health Organization maximum standard. For the chloride, also there's only 21st of around 58 wells of the 282 pump with water with chloride level or chloride concentration above below the 250 milligram, the WHO maximum standard. You can imagine about these numbers how the situation of the water is very bad from the quality and from the quantity as well. There's, I will talk about two numbers or two facts, one in the peace and the stable condition, and the second in during the conflict. From daily average water use is about 90 liters per person per day, which is also below the WHO standard, which is 110. Total consumption is about 2 million cubic meter per year, and the total renewable water from the rainfall and lateral inflow is about 125 million cubic meter per year. That means around 70 to 75 million cubic meter deficit. This makes the logic of the seawater intrusion. About 96 of the waters aquifer is contaminated by high salinity, and more than 90% of the people buy drinking water from private vendors who provide water from private desalination plant. Regarding the facts and numbers in the conflict or war, as estimated by the OCHA, UN agencies, and the WASH clusters, they estimated that about 800,000 of people don't currently have access to piped water. As you see from the figure, there's a direct shot for the road, which is having the water and sewage network, which is appeared from this photo. It's all totally damaged. There's around 40% drop in the water supply in the Gaza Strip during the conflict, and there's about more than 25 wash service providers are stopped working, and their capacities were deteriorated. More than 500 wash facilities like water desalination plant, pumping water, wells, pumping stations, treatment plants, all of them either stopped working or have limited capacity. 92 wash facilities were hit directly and during this escalation. Above more than 10,000 meters of underground water pipes and sewage pipes were destroyed. Regarding the sanitation, we have also numbers during the NBs and in stable condition. We have the sewage network covers around 70% of the Gaza Strip, and we have three main wastewater treatment plants, which all of them are overloaded and cannot perform the treatment as we think, and they provide a bad quality of effluent that is dumped to and discharged to the Mediterranean Sea. And we have new wastewater treatment plants which are still under partial capacity, but they are built based on the new and the state-of-the-art technology. The annual production is about 47 million cubic meter. About 75 of this number dumped to the sea, 25% is infiltrated to the aquifer. The 75 means 35 million cubic meter are dumped either with the treatment or without, or with partial treatment. During the conflict about sanitation, we have more than 20,000 cubic meter of raw sewage is dumped directly to the sea, and we have about 80,000 cubic meter of poorly treated sewage are discharged to the sea. And we can see from these figures the effect of the airstrikes and pumps or for the infrastructures. Here is the municipality of Gaza trying to make some repairs and rehabilitation after the conflict and sees the fire. Regarding the solid waste, we have in these about 1.5 to 2 million tons per year, and with the daily average production is about 171 kilogram per capita or per person. The organic waste ranges from 60 to 70%. The total waste 48% from the household, 28% from institutional and businesses, 24% from construction and industrial sector. We have 3 central landfills, and all of them are overloaded since many years ago. And you see from these pictures how much the waste is accumulated in the streets, and this can make a lot of risks to the health and to the people. During the conflict, the central landfills are located in the buffering area, which is in the borders, so no one can reach these areas. So the waste can still accumulate in the streets, and the municipalities have less and limited capacities, and they perform also limited collections. And you see here some waste after the destruction, and people from the left side photo, you can see the municipalities laborers cleaning the streets after the conflict. Waste management in Gaza. Recent feasibility studies focus on the cost-benefit initiatives for utilizing major parts of so-called non-conventional water sources like treated grey water and wastewater for agricultural purposes. This could be one of the possible and innovative solutions to alleviate the stress on the water scarcity and the groundwater aquifer. This is and the grey water project, which I am going to talk about, is funded by our organization, Security Islamic France, and its objective is to contribute to enhance the waste management for sustainable resources and recycling, with the specific objectives to increase the grey water recycling and reuse in residential and public buildings among targeted population, and also to promote knowledge and value of grey water investment among the community and the key actors of the wash sector. We have made first design and pilot for the grey water treatment in 2018, and it was consists of many stages. First is screening, and then chlorination, after that natural filtration and industrial filters. Then the water can be collected in a small tank, then afterwards it can be used for irrigation. The cost of this unit about $1,900, so it's a little bit costly. So we think further and make a lot of experiments and laboratory tests to improve it and refine it. In 2020, we came up with this design with much less cost, which is about $750, and it can perform the same quality, and it can also reduce the money for the people benefited from this unit. It is a household unit. This is the design, first screening and then storage in tanks, and the small pump can lift the water to the upper tank and then can go through natural filters with some media that afterwards it can go for directly for the trees through the network. Here is the design and the equipment used for this. Here is the filter media and details of it. Here is the structure of the skeletons. And here is some photos about collecting samples from different steps and treatment processes. And here is the water goes directly to the trees. And you can see from this picture how is the color is so dark, and in the end, in the fourth, of the effluent, you can see it's more clear. And yeah, here is the graphs and tests of the total suspended solids, and we can see this graph how the efficiency of this treatment unit can work. In the first influent, it is very high, and in the end, we have got below the standard, the Palestinian standard for reuse in agriculture. And here is the COD also. POD also we have less than the standard, and for the fecal coliform concentration, we also still have below the minimum standard. This is a training also awareness material that was distributed to the beneficiaries to improve the grey water treatment unit and also the grey water system. I will leave you with some photos of the recent escalation, and thank you.
Thank you, Samir, for this presentation, and also for sharing with us these photos. And I think we really need to be all aware about the situation in Gaza, as in other countries of the world, where the war and the other human factors affect the relationship of communities with the environment and with the access to basic water and sanitation. So really thank you for this presentation. And now I would like to ask if there are questions, because we have a little time, even if we are a bit late for question. And before, I wanted to invite the organizer of an important week in Accra, in Ghana, to share with us some comments. Thank you, Jeffrey Opoku, for being with us. I know your is not an intervention, but since with the intervention of Mauro, but also of Federico and Giovanni, we mentioned several times the activities that we have done in Ghana. We want really to give the floor just for a greetings to a group of young activists that are promoting environmental issues in Accra, organizing a festival, a week. Maybe you can tell us more about this. The microphone, please. Yes.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Mr. Moreau, for putting me on, and the event coordinators, Professor Vakari and Margarita, for giving me this platform. I am highly honored to share my experience and my work about Sustainability Week. So when I got into the university, I developed some interest in environment after high school. So when I got into the university, universities are key institutions that train students to be future leaders and reinforce them to make a change. So when I was getting to the university, I was expecting to be surrounded by like-minded people who are environmentally conscious. But unfortunately, when I got there, the things that I saw was actually opposite. The lifestyle on campus was highly, highly unsustainable. And majority of the university students didn't even know about the SDGs. And if you have a conversation with them, they don't show any interest about the SDGs or Agenda 2030. So this really made me hungry to make a change, and it's led me to establish a Sustainability Week in Ghana. And I had a few like-minded friends. I spoke to them about it, and they were interested. So the idea of the Sustainability Week was to co-create activities, climate-friendly activities, to raise awareness about the SDGs, to build awareness about sustainability, and then the need for young people to know the expected impact of the climate crisis, the need to adapt, and the available sustainable lifestyles they could adopt. So before we could do this, we wanted to do something different. Rather than we organizing forums and seminars and webinars for students to come and sit down and we talk to them and they go. We wanted to have an activity that will engage young people. So in our first year, which was 2020, we had activities like the Enrolls Climate Simulator. It was a very amazing workshop about climate change. We had a clothes swap to address challenges facing in the fashion industry. We also had a tree planting exercise. We also held activities like Eco Vision Board and showing a movie screening. So all these ideas were really unconventional, and it needed financial support. There were ups and downs, but I wouldn't like to bore you with the details. But what was important that we had an unflinching support from the Swiss Embassy in Ghana. And I'm quite impressed today with the presentation that went on with regards to the WASH and the sanitation initiatives happening in Ghana, happening in Serbia, Sri Lanka. And I think we have an upcoming project, which our team member has a beautiful project, which is relating to water in Ghana, a community known as Arsenic Central, where the local people are battling with quality water. So the idea of what he wants to do, and we are actually in support, is to create a borehole so that people actually have access to clean and standard water. And the beautiful part of this project is that for the sustainability, how are we going to sustain this project? Definitely looking for funds to start, but then we can't be looking for funds all the time to maintain a project. It has to be sustainable by itself. So the beautiful part of this project is that, yes, people are going to be employed. People are going to be employed to take care of the water, where they can sell them at a minimal fee. But at the end of every month, the community have the chance to have access to the water using plastic bottles. So they get to pay using plastic bottles. So this enables the community to become environmentally conscious, and where they see plastic as a value and not a waste. So these are some of the projects we are looking forward to do. And I'm glad to be on this platform. I'm glad to see the SETAMP Lab initiatives and programs, which I felt in love with. So this is the whole idea of Sustainability Week and the change we are actually driving. We look forward to future collaborations. And I will say thank you to everyone, and most of you who are dedicating your life to build a smarter planet. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Jeffrey, for your intervention. Very nice. And for sure, we are keen to collaborate with everybody. So just let's keep in touch, and we can try to work together in the future for sure. Is there any question about the talks that we had this afternoon? I don't know, Margarita, is there any question on the chat? Did you check if there are questions? Or?
I checked, no, at the moment, no. We don't have other question.
Maybe in the meanwhile, we have just a couple of minutes for the questions. Then we go straight to the conclusions. Maybe I can have I have a question for Edgar. Edgar, are you there? Are you with us?
No, maybe he needed to go to run away. So yes, maybe he's not with us.
Okay. I have a question for Federico then. Federico, yes, I see you.
Yes,
you showed us a lot of very interesting devices, okay, for hand washing, for hygiene. I liked it a lot, and really I enjoyed a lot your presentation, the pictures. Okay, I have just one question because I had a problem with the connection. Maybe you said that I didn't hear or catch it. But is there any, let's say, evidence of the improvement of the efficiency, the effectiveness of those devices? Did you monitor it or not in your project?
Okay, no, we are not going to monitor it. We just developed the part of dissemination. And so some of the people send us back the images of the tools that they developed, but maybe some of them not. And we had not the occasion also to check the improvements or the proper development of this kind of systems. And this is a nice suggestion for an implementation of the project. And so to try to give a sort of assistance in the time, also try to monitor also the how long they continue to keep this system working and so on. Of course, a solution like the one in Ghana made by CIS is a long-lasting solution because they use the materials and the technologies that can grant a long-lasting solution. It's not the same for this small and low-cost solution in the villages. This should be so interesting to check if at first if they are still on place. Also, because in some areas of Africa, this COVID emergency is still not so. Is still not so a priority like we can see here, and so it's a nice research to keep for the future. Thank you.
Okay, yes, I think it would be very useful and interesting to have this data, and also to understand, as you said, how long these devices are used in the future, and because it's an important result in terms of how up to date they are. So I think that project monitoring is very, very important and somehow not really under the focus of our activities somehow. So yes, we have to focus on that. Any question, maybe? Other questions?
Yes, Jeffrey, our climate simulator with the question, yes.
Yeah, so I have a question for Mr. Moreau, and I think one of the researchers who had done a project in Serbia and Ghana. So my question is about the problems they are trying to solve are real deep-rooted problems in Ghana and in other African countries. But I want to ask, what about the involvement of the government? Because first of all, I feel they need to be involved in this. Is their responsibility at first, and it's a priority that they actually take in charge of this kind of challenges. So I'd like to ask a question. My question is about, are there involvement of the local states? And because I've not actually seen any collaboration with the local government or any national authority. So I want to know why.
Can you hear me? Okay, so thank you, Jeffrey, for the question. Well, I really cannot talk on behalf of the government, meaning that we don't play a role of, how can I say, pushing government side. So in the end, what we do is we implement a project which is funded by a donor, which is an external donor. We work with the government, meaning that our program is implemented through the Ministry of Finance. So the government is there in a side. Now, I don't know if you want to know at which level the government is involved, meaning that, yes, the government is involved at the financial level, so to say, because it's a partnership, so to say, between European Union and the Ministry of Finance in Ghana. And the government is involved under the local authorities' perspective, because in all the activities that we do in Ghana, we always involve the local government, because for us it's very important in order to operate properly. So this is the level of involvement of the government. The government is pretty aware of the challenges that we have, especially in the north side of Ghana, when it comes to wash, but the response is not always there. So this is why sometimes what NGOs like us, they try to do is they try to, how can I say, limitate or in some way improve the situation as much as possible. I agree with you that without a government response, this kind of issues, they won't be easily solved. So yes, government should always be the one leading the change. I hope that I answered to your question.
Yes, it's answered. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know if Giovanni wants to add something about this question, since one was mentioned also the Serbia case.
Yes, sure. Thanks for the question. Concerning the Ghana side, I would say that already Mauro gave a comprehensive answer. Concerning the Serbia side, I can say that the case study that I described was first step. I mean, we got information from the University of Novi Sad in Serbia. This means that we hope to go deeper in this project in the next few months. So we will try to discuss more in details also with the local administration. But yes, of course, to do something of complete and effective, it is important to try to involve the local stakeholders also, and also the administrations.
Thank you, Giovanni. If there are other questions, or we can go maybe ahead with the conclusions. And so I'm very happy that finally Sergio Cipolla, president of CIS, is here. Also because I didn't introduce CIS, so I'm very glad that he will do. Just to say that Sergio has an experience of more than 35 years in international cooperation, and he's a biologist, so he's very interested in all the topics of the discussion we had today, even if, I mean, it's very good the connection he do on these technical issues and human rights. So I think the perspective of Sergio is very interesting for some concluding remarks for this today webinar. So please, Sergio. Are you with us? I think yes.
The microphone is switched off.
Yeah, I think now it's good. Yeah.
It's okay? Yeah. I am sorry, but I will speak in Italian because my English is not so good. And I am sorry also for the delay in my participation, but just this morning I had some trouble, health trouble. So I need some time to come here. But anyway, I am here. So I ask to Margherita if can help me in the translation.
Yes.
Ok. Allora passo all'italiano. Non sarò non molto lungo in questo mio intervento perché siamo alla fine ed è già in ritardo. Voglio solo ricordare, come diceva Margherita, che il CIS è un'esperienza molto lunga ormai nella cooperazione internazionale. Abbiamo 35 anni di progetti alle spalle.
So yes, I will not take long for these final remarks, also because I mean it's quite late. But just I would like to mention that CIS has an experience of more than 35 years in international cooperation.
Noi abbiamo lavorato in molti continenti e in molti paesi, più di 25 paesi del sud del mondo.
And we work in different geographic areas and continents and more than 25 countries over the globe.
Anche se l'intervento nel settore wash e sanitation non è stato l'unico del CIS, noi abbiamo anche tanti altri settori di intervento, ci ha accompagnati praticamente dalla nostra nascita questi settori.
Even though water and sanitation and wash sector is not our main or only fields of intervention, because we work in different fields. Since the beginning of our activities, we started to work in this sector and we never abandoned it.
Per una ragione molto semplice e importante. tutti gli aspetti legati all'acqua e alla sanitation sono centrali per la vita delle persone, soprattutto nei paesi del sud del mondo.
That's why there is a key issue to take in account, that all the aspects related to water and sanitation are also central and strategic for fundamental rights.
Questo naturalmente riguarda sia le persone che vivono in area urbana che quelle che vivono in area rurale.
And this regards both communities living in urban and rural areas.
Però è evidente che il problema dell'urbanizzazione sta portando delle sfide enormi alla sopravvivenza delle persone, e quando intendo persone mi riferisco naturalmente alle persone più povere, alle persone che sono nelle condizioni di vita più difficili.
But for sure, urbanization process, ongoing urbanization process are creating more pressure on the environment and the very problematic issues, and they are making the life, especially of the most vulnerable groups, very difficult.
Dobbiamo considerare che praticamente già oggi, o se non oggi, tra pochissimi anni, nel 2030 per la precisione, più del 60% della popolazione umana nel pianeta vivrà in area urbana.
And we should remember that in some years, and specifically in 2030, we will have at about 60% of the global population living in urban areas.
Questo rappresenta una sfida immensa, perché la maggior parte di queste persone che vivono in area urbana si concentrano nel sud del mondo, e una percentuale importante di loro vive in quelli che sono definiti slum urbani.
And this challenge is, amazing, because we should consider also that the majority of these people will populate urban areas, actually live in the global south, and so the situation will be more difficult for them, and they are the most poor. And they, especially live in informal settings.
E già oggi si calcola che almeno 900 milioni di persone vivono in quelli che sono definiti slums, ossia uno dei requisiti per definire un'area urbana slum è proprio l'assenza di servizi di acqua potabile e di sanitation e rimozione dei rifiuti.
And we should consider also that already now today, about 900 millions of people are living in these informal settlements, slum, and the definition of slums itself depends on the fact that these people don't have access to drinking water and sanitation, hygiene, and of course waste management services.
Quindi noi stiamo dicendo che già soltanto nelle aree urbane attuali quasi 1 miliardo di persone non hanno questi servizi fondamentali per la salute e per il diritto alla vita.
So we have already around 1 billion of persons that don't have access to these basic needs and rights.
E a questi naturalmente bisogna aggiungere tutta la popolazione dell'area rurale che vive in condizioni di povertà.
And this concerns only the urban population, but of course we have also difficulties for people living in the rural areas.
Sto dando queste cifre, anche se termino qui perché siamo alla fine del nostro seminario, perché queste cifre dovrebbero portarci a fare delle riflessioni molto concrete e molto operative.
I'm sharing with you this data because I think this data can help us to do some reflections at the end of this webinar.
Io non ho potuto seguire tutti gli interventi, però diciamo la metà almeno sì, e in questi che ho seguito ho trovato degli elementi di grandissimo interesse, perché mi hanno richiamato alcune delle sfide che noi abbiamo avuto nei nostri progetti.
I couldn't have the opportunity to follow all interventions, but at least half I did it, and were very interesting because reminded to me many of the challenges that in our projects we had in relation to this domain?
Mi riferisco all'Ecuador, dove ancora oggi stiamo operando, ovviamente alla Palestina, dove siamo presenti dal 1988 e così via.
I'm speaking about Ecuador, where currently we are working, or Palestine, where we are working since the 90s.
La grande questione che noi ci siamo trovati di fronte sin da quando abbiamo iniziato a operare sul campo, sul tema wash e sanitation, soprattutto sul tema acqua, è stata quella di, come dire, sottomettere le innovazioni tecnologiche, anche quelle ambientalmente più compatibili, con la compatibilità invece sociale, economica, umana.
The big issue that we challenged is that there has been always the tentative, the attempt to consider the water sanitation issues mainly from a technological perspective, or putting priority that technological perspective rather than considering the social and human elements.
Vi faccio un esempio minimo. Noi siamo stati, credo, i primi a utilizzare su una scala grande, in un progetto di cooperazione, la metodologia e la tecnologia dell'osmosi inversa per la potabilizzazione dell'acqua, esattamente nella striscia di Gaza.
For example, we have been maybe the first to apply the osmosis. Please help me because I don't remember how to translate.
Reverse osmosis.
Yeah. And for in Gaza, and is an example.
Vi posso garantire che, nonostante sul piano teorico fosse tutto molto chiaro sull'utilizzo di questa tecnologia, applicarla alla popolazione di Khan Yunis, ossia circa 125.000 persone, è stata una sfida completamente diversa. Sono emersi tantissimi elementi che la pura tecnologia, la pura innovazione spesso purtroppo non è in grado di prendere in considerazione.
And in this example, we experienced that even if from a theoretical perspective, the methodology of osmosis didn't present some problems, from a social perspective, many issues emerged in an area in the city of Khan Yunis, populated about by 125,000 people, and so many challenges arisen.
Ma potrei fare anche l'esempio della fitodepurazione sperimentata su scala piccola da noi in Honduras, ma quando abbiamo tentato e provato a espanderla a una popolazione di alcune migliaia di persone, chiaramente i problemi che sono emersi sono stati completamente diversi.
Another example is a phytodepuration project we run in Honduras. We try to scale up from a small community to a bigger number of population, and we faced some challenges.
Quindi, in conclusione, ho trovato tutti gli interventi estremamente interessanti e soprattutto, ovviamente, voglio anche esprimere la nostra massima solidarietà all'amico che è intervenuto da Gaza per i motivi, per l'aggressione che hanno ricevuto da parte israeliana.
And so, just to conclude that I really think all interventions were very interesting, and I want also to express our solidarity for the situation in Gaza, thanks the speaker from Gaza that suffered recently the dramatic attack.
Ma il punto che vorrei lasciare come magari proposta di discussione per un prossimo seminario è proprio quello della sostenibilità.
But I would like to conclude leaving to the possibility for a future webinar focusing on the issue of sustainability that I think is crucial.
Sì, e mi riferisco in particolare alla sostenibilità umana, sociale e culturale, e di quella economica se ne occupano in tanti, però questi altri tre settori, cioè l'accettabilità da parte delle popolazioni delle proposte di soluzioni, è cruciale veramente per tutti i progetti di cooperazione.
many are dealing with the economic sustainability, but I would like more to focus on a human, social, cultural sustainability, and especially the active participation and acceptance of communities of these technologies.
Ovviamente non è questa la sede per approfondire, ma come dicevo, sarebbe veramente interessante dedicare un prossimo incontro proprio a questo tema, come le migliori innovazioni in campo ambientale, nel settore che ci interessa, si arricchiscono di sostenibilità quando vengono offerte a numeri importanti di popolazione. Vi ringrazio.
Yes, so yes, I really welcome the possibility to focus on this sustainability issue. I think it's very important, and so thank you. I would like to take the opportunity to close this webinar, also because we lasted more than we expected, but really thanks all speakers for being with us, and thanks also because I can imagine how difficult it was to connecting from different countries where also sometimes the line is not very good. Especially I would like to thank also my colleagues, Enza, Valentina, and Francesca for the help in the organization, and especially Professor Sollini and Professor Vaccari for being with us, and the collaboration with Setan Lab. So I can conclude. I mean, I would like to give the floor to Mentore for a very final greetings, but just concluding, inviting you to organize next year, maybe in presence, maybe in Palermo or in Bergamo, we don't know, a webinar, a conference on sustainability. So I really hope we can keep on, and maybe a practical suggestion, since today we shared also different practices connected to wash sector. Maybe we have also the COVID-free toolkit. Maybe we can join there for promoting and sharing the practices. I think networking is very important. Open access to information and knowledge is strategic for the countries and community where we work. So I give the floor to Mentore for a final greeting.
Yes, just to thank again the attenders that are still with us. Thanks you for your patience and for your interest in this webinar. Thanks a lot to the talkers, the speakers, for their very interesting and deep presentations. And I'm quite sure that we will organize soon another webinar on the topic that Sergio suggested, that I agree with him. It's a very important aspect that we can try to develop and deepen in another webinar. So let's keep in touch. If you are interested in our activities, just write us by email or look at our websites. Thanks a lot. Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye.